stupefy. Hello, my fellow YouTubers and subscribers, and welcome to my latest Harry Potter review. Sorry it's been a few days since the last one. Life has been busy. Anyway, today we continue the Wizarding World movies re-reviews with Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Directed by David Yates, based on the book by J.K. Rowling. Released in 2007. Wow, 15 years ago. Is it really that old? Whew. Okay, so, The Order of the Phoenix, the fifth film. Let's get into the plot, shall we? Because this, my friends, is the adaptation of the longest Harry Potter book, and it is bloody long, let me tell you that. The movie is surprisingly one of the shorter movies in the franchise, would you believe? Anyway, the plot for the film is as follows. With their warning about Lord Voldemort's return scoffed at, Harry and Dumbledore are targeted by the wizard authorities as an authoritarian bureaucrat slowly seizes power at Hogwarts. So, the Order of the Phoenix. Well, this has been a very strong series of films so far, and I have to say, Order of the Phoenix is no exception. This is a great movie. It's a great Harry Potter film. I don't know if it's quite as good as the last few, the first four films, which I really did enjoy, but I do really like this film. It has grown on me over the years. I didn't always used to sort of think as highly of it. It is one of the weaker films of the franchise, I feel, but I actually think there's a lot of great moments in it. Some of the series' best moments, actually. For me, there are a few things that do work against it, but I will go into those in a bit. First of all, this is the first of many films that David Yates will be directing. Yes, David Yates is still directing these movies now. He's directed the last four Harry Potter films and all three Fantastic Beasts movies, and he will direct the next two as well. So this guy's clearly fallen in love with the franchise, but this is his first time directing like a big budget movie. And you can tell his direction is not entirely confident. I mean, it's good. It is good. But I do feel like he will get better as a director as the next films slowly come out. What's interesting about The Order of the Phoenix is that there's a lot of political drama in this film. The beginning of the film is a right aftermath of the Goblet of Fire after Cedric's death, and Harry has told the world that Voldemort is back, but nobody wants to believe him. The Ministry don't want to cause an uproar, they just refuse to believe what's right in front of them, and Fudge decides to conspire against Harry and Dumbledore by sending the Dementors to, attack Harry and his cousin, and then Harry can then be expelled from Hogwarts. So I kind of like the whole political aspect of the plot, and the fact that we get to see more of the inner workings of the Ministry of Magic, which is fantastic. And the first time we've ever seen the set of the Ministry of Magic in the entire series is, it's fascinating. It looks so good. The production values have not cease. That they are so good, and this film is beautifully designed. It's very lavish, and Hogwarts looks amazing. It looks better than ever. The cinematography is slightly darker this time. It's definitely a darker film, and in some ways a lot more of a depressing film after the last four films. It does have comedy, it does have light relief. It's not entirely, soulless, but you do noticeably see a transition in tone, and there's a lot of emotional scenes as well in this film, particularly towards the end, and with the use of flashbacks to previous films, it definitely hits home. Daniel Radcliffe, wow, this is probably his best performance of the series, if not one of his best performances. He is so good in this film, really taking Harry to that emotional level, because Harry is also a teenager. He's like 15 years old, and his body is changing, and of course he's struggling to deal with a lot of issues like the aftermath of the Goblet of Fire with the Ministry conspiring against him. The fact that he's also falling in love as well with Cho. He has a bit of a romance with Cho. And he's also trying to train up everybody else. Yeah, Harry becomes a teacher in this film. It's very interesting to see him take on a bit more of a leadership role. And Hermione and Ron sort of encourage him to stand up and do something with his life and stand up to Umbridge after she tortures him. So again, and Daniel Radcliffe really just throws all of his emotional, weight into this performance as Harry, and I think it's probably his strongest one yet. I mean, wow, he's amazing. This guy was born to play Harry Potter. Rupert, Grint, and Emma Watson. Sadly, that's one of my criticisms of this film. Ron and Hermione are quite sidelined in this film. It's a real shame because they are actually in it quite a lot, but in terms of what they contribute to the story, they basically encourage Harry to start Dumbledore's army, and that's kind of it, really. We just kind of see them in various bits and pieces, And also when we are introduced to Hagrid's half-brother, Grawp, the big giant, then did we get more scenes with Ron and Hermione. But Ron and Hermione are really underdeveloped in this film, which is a shame. I understand that there's loads of characters and there's a lot to focus on, but it would have been nice to have Ron and Hermione do a bit more, but they will do more in the next film, The Half-Blood Prince. But yeah, it does kind of bring Order of the Phoenix down a little bit, because I felt like a lot of the first 4 films, there was more scenes about the trio and about them as characters. This one is very much focused on Harry, of course, for obvious reasons, but Ron and Hermione were sort of a little bit pushed to the side. Not completely out of frame, but still, you know, enough for me to go, they could have been in it more. And loads of the other characters are kind of in their bits here and there, like Brendan Gleeson is back as Mad-Eye Moody, Alan Rickman as Snape, Michael Gambon is good as Dumbledore. I think Michael Gambon's getting better with each film as Dumbledore, and I actually quite liked him in this one. I thought this was his strongest one yet, and that final battle with Voldemort, well, I'll talk about the action in just a moment, but that was pretty spectacular. It's nice to see Bonnie Wright get a bit more to do as Ginny Weasley. She gets involved in the action, same as Matthew Lewis as Neville Longbottom, and we get to meet new characters in this film, like Bellatrix, played by Helena Bonham Carter. Bellatrix is not a character who's featured a huge amount in the book. She is mentioned quite a bit, and she does appear towards the end of the series, but she doesn't have a huge role in this film, but she does get involved in the action towards the end, and you know, Helena Bonham Carter was, well, the perfect casting choice, really. We also introduced to Evanna Lynch as Luna Lovegood. I must admit, she is one of the scene stealers of this film. Luna is a fantastic character because she has this rare quality of being someone who does not give a shit what anyone else says about her. She's totally comfortable with being her mad, elusive self. You know, everybody thinks she's, well, Loony Lovegood, as they call her, you know, because she's mad and she talks to creatures or whatever, and she sees the Thestrals. But I like the fact that her and Harry form a friendship because she can understand and she can empathise with Harry about being isolated, and I think that really works quite well. And there's no romantic thing at all. I mean, if anything, she's younger than Harry. So, yeah, but I like the fact that she really is like his rock, his sort of shoulder to cry on, which I really do appreciate. Ralph Fiennes returns as Voldemort, and as I've said already, yes, that final battle with Dumbledore and Voldemort, that is one of the best action sequences in the series. That is so good. The effects are impressive as well, and they've held up really well since 2007. I must admit, the effects are, wow, really impressive. Voldemort doesn't get many lines, but he does turn up for the end, and it definitely is a moment worth seeing, let's just say that. And also, the other new character to mention is Imelda Staunton as Dolores Umbridge. Holy fuck. She is a bitch. She is so horrible. But, I mean, Imelda Staunton nails it. She kills it as this character. She should have got an Oscar for this role. She was that good. Behind this pink, fluffy exterior, there is a horrible, decrepit woman who hates children, and she wants power, and she wants to be in control, and she's obviously kissing the minister's ass, and she's going into Hogwarts to try and stop them using magic because she feels like Voldemort's return is like fudge. You know, they feel like Voldemort's return has caused a lot of hysteria. They want to keep it shushed. So I love the whole political side of the story, and the fact that everything's kind of a manipulation. There's a lot of twists and turns in this one. There's quite a lot of baggage to this plot in this film, but Dolores Umbridge being at the centre of it and just being a fantastic villain. I mean, I don't know if I'd go as far as to say she's more evil than Voldemort or Grindelwald, because I do think that, you know, she's not a murderer. She hasn't killed anyone. So in that respect, I do think she isn't quite as bad as them, but she is horrible. I mean, she tortures Harry when engraving the message into his hand, which is, God, that's terrible. Imelda Staunton, just, again, perfect. Absolutely perfect in this role. Just, you know, fabulous. Robbie Coltrane is Hagrid as well. He doesn't get as much to do in this one, but he is in it, which is nice. Gary Oldman as Sirius Black is worth talking about. Because obviously the ending is very sad. Spoiler alert, he dies. But there's some lovely moments with him and Harry where we get to see more of their relationship. And I forgot to mention in my Goblet of Fire review, Sirius had a cameo in which he appeared in the fireplace. The effect was really good, where he was kind of all charred within the charcoal and the coal, and his face was all kind of enwreathed in flame. Whereas this time, it's just the 2D flame, and his face is just green screened over the top. I prefer the other effect because it looked more 3D and looked more unreal, but this effect is still fine. But Gary Oldman is great in this film, and his death scene is very emotional when he's killed by Bellatrix, who's actually his cousin. and Harry, unleashes this scream of pain and anger, but it's all silent, and the music is overbearing it, and it's powerful stuff. Really well directed by David Yates, I must admit. And yeah, sad to see Sirius go, but he went out with dignity. The action sequences in this film are amazing. The final battle is pretty good. It's not as long as you would think it would be, but it's as long as it needs to be, because we have the Department of Mysteries battle where the six of them, it's Harry, Ron, Hermione, Ginny, Neville, and Luna, all enter the Department of Mysteries together, and they fight Lucius Malfoy and his cronies and Bellatrix, and then the Order of the Phoenix come in and help them in the actual final battle. We get some wand dueling. We haven't really had that in the series so far, so that was a lovely addition to this film. And again, it all culminates in Sirius's death, which is very sad, but it's very well done. I also quite like the opening scene with Harry and Dudley when the Dementors attack them. And that was well done. And the Dursleys are back in this film. It's nice to see them back for their brief cameos at the beginning of the film. But again, they're not hugely central. Other new characters, Nymphadora Tonks is another one. She's very good. Molly Weasley's back, which is also very nice. Creature, the house elf, he's very good, although he will get more to do later on. The music score is done by Nicholas Hooper, and I think his score is good. It's not the best score of Potter, but it is very good. There's that wonderful track when Fred and George burst through the hall and they tear apart the hall and light fireworks, and Umbridge, they get rid of Umbridge from the school, which is, that's just fabulous. That's a fabulous moment there. I love that. One of the best scenes in Potter. Just brilliant. And like I said, there is some light relief as well with Harry's romance with Cho, although I do have to criticise the film in one respect, because the romance, whilst it is nice to see Harry kissing a girl, it's nice to see him finally coming of age, they don't develop the romance. In the book, it's developed a lot further. I know it's not the central focus of the story, but it would be nice to have thought, that they would have spent at least a bit more time. Obviously, we know that Cho ends up ratting out Dumbledore's army because of the Veritaserum that Umbridge spikes her, but yeah, and Harry kind of ends his relationship with her as well in the book because of her grieving for Cedric. In the film, it's not really focused on that much. They really did rush that, which was a shame, because we don't see many scenes with them together, and then we see later the scene after they've been ratted out, and then everybody just ignores Cho. But it wasn't her fault, and the film kind of doesn't make it clear whether it was her fault or not, so the film could have focused on that. Another criticism I have of this film is the occlumency stuff, which is Snape training Harry to defend his mind. I do like the flashback of seeing how Snape was bullied and all that. That was nice that they included that. But they don't really focus on it that much. They kind of rushed through in one quick scene the explanation of what it is, blah, 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 occlumency, this, da-da. I was like, and we only get like 2 scenes with it, so it would be nice to have a bit more focus on that. It doesn't really make sense in the context of the film how Harry is able to suddenly defend his mind in the end of the film, because in the end of the film Voldemort's trying to invade his mind and Harry manages to stop him, but earlier on we see that Snape basically gives up on Harry's lessons after Harry blocks his spell, and the spell goes into Snape, in which Snape's memory appears, and then Snape says get out. So Snape wasn't teaching Harry for that long, so it's not clear in terms of the film how much Harry knows about that. So I think that was a little confused. I think they could have spent more time on that. I think the cinematography is great. It definitely looks darker and it feels darker. There are parts of the film which are quite depressing. There's no doubt about that. Harry's going through quite a difficult time in this one. But it is still entertaining to watch, and it definitely gives you a bit more action than what you would hope for. I don't think it's quite as epic as the Goblet of Fire, but that's fine. It definitely progresses the story as well with the prophecy. And we discover in the end that neither one can live while the other survives. So it's going to come down to Harry versus Voldemort. Only one will survive. So Order of the Phoenix is a great movie. It definitely progresses the story further. It's very entertaining. It's got a mixture of tones. The direction is not as confident as it could be, but David Yates does a great job for his first outing. And it gives us some of the best moments of the series. So it's another strong film, but it does have a few problems that, for me, detract it from being up there with the very best of the series. So for me, I'm going to give Order of the Phoenix an 8 out of 10. I still really like this film. It's just one of my it's one of my least favourite ones, because I don't go back to it as much. Some of the moments I do, but like I said, there are some depressing parts to the film, but I understand why the film was the way it was. So thank you very much all for watching this review of Order of the Phoenix. What do you think of this film? Please comment down below, let me know, and stay tuned next time when I review Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. So until then, I'm Mr. Thewlis11, thank you for watching. See ya. Goodbye for now.